What is going on, you guys? Alex back here with a brand new video, and today it's January 1st, 2025, which means it's the new year, so happy new year to everyone watching. And for today's video, we're going to be going through all 30 NBA teams and talking about one New Year's wish for each of them. Usually it's a New Year's resolution, but I don't know what these teams are thinking. I don't know what their resolutions are, so I put a twist on it, and it's one New Year's wish for each of them. On January 1st, 2024, 1 year ago today, I made the same exact video. So on January 1st, 2025, that being today, we're going to be doing the same exact thing. And we're going to jump right into it, starting off with the Atlanta Hawks. And my wish for them is just keep this thing going. They are overachieving. They are currently the 6th seed in the East. They are currently also 18-15. They're playing pretty good basketball, and that's due to the fact Jalen Johnson is turning into a star. DeAndre Hunter looks like the sixth man of the year. Trae Young is playing good basketball as always, and their depth looks pretty darn good. Plus, they have the first overall pick in Zachary Richardson, looking solid as a rookie, and he's only going to get better. So my wish for them is just to buy into the youth movement, I should say, around Trae Young, because he is kind of the veteran on this team, or at least the veteran star player on this team, and just see where things go. They look really good, a lot better than where I thought they would be after trading DeJounte Murray and Dyson Daniels. I completely forgot to mention Dyson Daniels. There is a lot of good youth on this team, and it's surrounding Trae Young at a perfect time in his career, so I'm excited to see what 2025 brings to this squad. Next up for the Boston Celtics, it's a lot more simple. They're trying to go back-to-back. That's their main goal in 2025. So for me, my wish is just health and also just not getting complacent. There has been moments in recent days or recent weeks for the Boston Celtics, they don't look good. They just aren't looking as good as they usually are looking. And in their last 10 games, they're currently 5-5, and that looks like a lot of complacency, plus shots are just not falling, which happens at times. So my wish for them is health, because they need health to get to where they want to get to, that going back to back, but they also need to keep that dog mentality that helped them hoist banner 18 last season and last year, which sounds crazy to say because obviously at this point it was last year. For the Brooklyn Nets, it's sell, sell, sell. They just got rid of Dennis Schroeder. They just got rid of DFS a few days ago, and they're probably going to get rid of Cam Johnson. They're going to let Ben Simmons walk in the offseason. They just got to continue to sell and officially start the rebuild, whether that's with Cam Thomas, whether that's with Nick Claxton or not. Maybe they move both of those guys, but it's really buying into this rebuild and finally becoming a good team once again. It was a failed experiment with Kai, Harden, and Kevin Durant. That never got off the ground. Obviously, years prior to that, with KG and Paul Pierce, they tried to do that whole random thing. That flopped. The Brooklyn Nets have not been really good in a very long time. They need to get back to that level, and that starts right now by continuing to sell. And do they keep Cam Thomas? Do they keep Nick Claxton, or they sell off those guys as well? We'll see, but they definitely need to go the rebuilding route. For the Charlotte Hornets, this one might seem a little bit weird, a little bit wonky, but these are wishes, so it doesn't mean they have to be ultra realistic. It's get a superstar in Charlotte. I am tired of seeing the Charlotte Hornets be bad. They are currently 7-25. That's disgusting. You have Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, who I know has been hurt on and off lately, Miles Bridges, and a very solid supporting cast. There is no excuse to be 7-25. There's no excuse. They need another star, if not a superstar, to pair up with LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. Is that Zion Williamson? Is that Zion? That is where my head goes first. I've made a video on this in prior years, or I don't think it was this summer, but I think it was the summer before, and I made a video yesterday about the New Orleans Pelicans possibly trading Zion. I don't think that happens during this season. If anything, it happens in the offseason, and the Charlotte Hornets have to be one of those teams that is on Zion's radar. Because imagine LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and Zion. Again, I know it's a little bit wonky, but it's a wish, and the Charlotte Hornets need to go out and get another star because they continue to underachieve. And I'm not talking about underachieving as they should be a playoff team, but there's no way this team this season couldn't be closer to 500. They don't look good right now. They should be a lot closer to 500 than where they are right now. Next up, the Chicago Bulls rebuild. I am tired of seeing Zach LaVine in a Chicago Bulls jersey, and I'm not even a fan. So I cannot imagine what Bulls fans actually think. I'm also tired of seeing Vucevic in a Chicago Bulls jersey. And the one guy you let go in DeMar DeRozan, that was good, but you did a little bit of a barely a sign and trade. You got really nothing back in return. Might as well just have let him walk. Don't let that happen with Zach LaVine and Vucevic. Trade them, get assets back, and buy into the youth of this team because you really don't know what you have while you're trying to just be a middling team. They're currently, 15 and 18, around 500. That's exactly where they've been for the past, 3-4 years now. I'm getting tired of it. Let's pick a direction and stick with it because right now you have no direction. Next up, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Prove they're not just a dominant regular season team. They're 29-4. They're dominating everyone they see, everyone they touch. But come playoff time, I want to see them actually get to a really interesting spot. The Eastern Conference Finals, and maybe the Finals. I'm a Celtics fan, so hopefully not. But on the other side of me, I want them to prove something. And that starts by actually getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, by dominating their path, and maybe getting to the NBA Finals. I'm not a believer in Donovan Mitchell as a true number one option come playoff time. I'm a believer in him in the regular season, and they're proving that right now. But come playoff time, I want to be proved wrong, and I want to see Donovan Mitchell lead this team somewhere far, and that starts in 2025. Moving on to the Dallas Mavericks, I don't really have too much to say. I just wrote down stay healthy and make the necessary moves to get a little bit better, but really just stay healthy. We just saw Luka Doncic go down for really no timetable. He hurt his calf. They said they're going to check back up with him in about 3 to 4 weeks, but who knows how much longer that will be. Kyrie Irving is by himself right now. He's not really by himself, but he's the lone star on this team. He has to really step up. The Dallas Mavericks are currently 20-13. They did make some great headway when they had Luka Doncic. They've lost 2 in a row. That's been without Luka. So hopefully they can stay somewhat afloat in his absence. But in 2025, it's stay healthy. Because if they're not healthy, they're going to have no chance to get back to the finals. And even if healthy, it's going to be a tough road as these Western Conference teams are getting better and better. Next up is the Denver Nuggets. And I said get help for Jokic. And I still 100,000% believe that, but I do want to give the benefit of the doubt to them. They are looking a bit better. They're 18-13. They're 7-3 in their last 10, but I still believe what is going on currently in the past few weeks is not sustainable. He needs help. Jamal Murray is inconsistent. MPJ is inconsistent. Aaron Gordon is inconsistent. Those are 3 of the 4 stars around Jokic, or I should say 3 of the stars around Jokic. Jokic, of course, is that 4-star. That's not sustainable to have 3 stars being very inconsistent. He needs help. And in the year 2025, they should be a top contender when you have the best player by far in the NBA. And as of right now, I'm still not a believer in them because what we have seen this season so far and really all of last year. He needs some more help, whether that's a deeper bench or trading one of MPJ or Aaron Gordon and maybe Jamal Murray. I think that's more unlikely, but one of MPJ, that's probably the most likely, or Aaron Gordon to get someone else in return that can really help Jokic. But something needs to change. Again, they're playing good ball right now, but I don't know how sustainable it's going to be. Moving on to the Detroit Pistons, keep it going. Don't change a thing. They're on the right path. They are playing some of their best basketball in years. They are currently 14-18. They're the 10th seed. They're a play-in team. If the playoffs started today, they are a play-in team. That's a stride in the right direction. Keep it going. Don't change a thing. Continue to let this youth grow alongside the good vets of this team like Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr. They have a good thing going. A mixture of young guys and a mixture of vets. It's going well. Don't change anything. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Golden State Warriors. Trade for a star to help out Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry is still playing high-level basketball. He should be competing still for good playoff moments, if not maybe another championship. That's probably unlikely, but Stephen Curry deserves to be in the playoffs. And as of right now, the Golden State Warriors are the 10th seed. They have fallen off. They are 16-16. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They started off the season obviously being a top 3 seed. They have fallen back down to 500. He deserves better. And that starts by getting him another star to pair up with him. Brandon Ingram. Could that be an option? Brandon Ingram is going to be on the move most likely. Could the Golden State Warriors go out and get him? We'll see. This is not what that video is about. I'm not diving into that. But Stephen Curry needs a star in 2025. He deserves it, and it better happen. Moving on to the Houston Rockets, 2025 is a huge and pivotal year for this organization. They are currently having a great year. They're 21-11. They're proving they are back, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But with that said, they have a ton of youth on this team. And in the year 2025, they can choose to go one of two directions. One, continue to grow with this youth, with Ime Udoka, and just letting it grow organically. Or the second path, trade for a superstar. Brandon Ingram, he's more of a star, but you get my drift. Kevin Durant, if he becomes available. They have two paths to go down. And in the year 2025, one of them is going to be picked. Which one? I don't know. But this year is a humongous year for that organization. The Indiana Pacers, they really just have to figure out if Tyrese Haliburton is truly a 1A. Pascal Siakam is not a 1A. He's a great 1B. But if they have two 1Bs, that being with Haliburton and Pascal, they're not going to be great. And so far this year, they haven't been great. They're 16-18, severely underperforming. But since they are in the Eastern Conference, it's a lot weaker than the West. They're the 8th seed. So that is a benefit to them. But they really have to figure out this year if Tyrese Haliburton is truly a 1A or if they have to go out and make a trade. Because I don't think they want to trade Haliburton. They believe in him. That's their guy. But if they have to go out and get another supporting player for him, that needs to be figured out this year. Next up is the Clippers, and it's really simple. Let Kawhi Leonard get healthy, which he's supposed to be back in the next few weeks, and see what you got. They are overperforming to the max this year. They are currently 19-14, the 6th seed in the Western Conference, which is a playoff team, not a play-in team, a playoff team. I thought this team would barely win 30, maybe 38 games. Right now, they're looking like they might win close to 50 games. They are playing great basketball. James Harden and that supporting cast around him right now is doing their thing. Kawhi Leonard is expected to be back very soon. In the year 2025, but specifically in the rest of this season, see what you have, and then this offseason, buy back into this Clippers team. This is a Clippers team that said, bye-bye, Paul George, and I thought they'd suck. I'm going to be honest, and they're not. This year is a pivotal year for the Clippers organization, and that starts by seeing what you have with Kawhi Leonard and the rest of this roster. Next up is the Lakers, the other team in LA, and it's so simple because there's not much to say. It's really just let LeBron James and Anthony Davis keep this team alive. I'm not saying they're the everything to this team because I do believe they have good pieces around them, but they made a decision to buy into LeBron James for the rest of his career. And with that, that's Anthony Davis, that's his sidekick who really should be the 1A at this point, but you just have to buy into them. I know it's simple, stupid, but you bought into them, and you're going to continue to see how that works in 2025. I really don't know what else to say. Do you go out and trade for another star? Maybe, but I don't really know if they're going to do that. They just got DFS. That seems like more of their wavelength, just getting good depth guys around LeBron and AD and the rest of that core. But we'll see. So 2025, just continue to buy into LeBron and AD and just continue to ride out LeBron's career. I mean, that's really all I got. Next up is the Memphis Grizzlies, and it's show the league you're the real deal. I have always believed in Memphis, but this season they are proving why they were forgotten about last year, and it was a mistake. They're 23-11, and they're just dominating this season, whether Ja Morant is on the court or not. Ja Morant has missed a considerable amount of games this year, and it hasn't really messed them up because the role players around them and the depth around them is amazing. They're playing great basketball, and that is a huge testament to Taylor Jenkins and that coaching staff. They have one of the best coaching staffs in the league, so shout out to them. Moving on to the Miami Heat, just buy into Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo and do either trade Jimmy Butler or let him walk. I mean, that seems like what's going to happen at this point. It doesn't seem like Jimmy Butler wants to come back to the Miami Heat, and that's just because he's not going to get his bag with the Miami Heat. Pat Riley doesn't want to pay him. And I don't blame him. I mean, Jimmy Butler is not worth that massive bag he wants this offseason. So buy into Tyler Hero, buy into Bam Adebayo in the year 2025, and let the youth movement grow in South Beach. Next up is the Milwaukee Bucks. And this year, you really just have to figure out what team are they? Are they that old team that we saw at the beginning of the year and we've seen at times continue to pop up in the last few weeks? Or are they that really good team that got them back into the season over the last couple months and we have seen them come around in the last few weeks? They continue to fluctuate to be that really good team and that really old-looking team that's like, wow, yeah, Dame, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, they're not cutting it around Giannis. Which version of them are we going to see in 2025? That's what the Milwaukee Bucks have to figure out, and that's kind of urgent because you don't want to piss off Giannis. Giannis is the best thing you got going in Milwaukee. That is a huge thing in the year 2025. Next up is the Minnesota Timberwolves, and one of the biggest things they have to think about in 2025, does Julius Randle realistically fit alongside Anthony Edwards for years to come? Ant is just touching his prime. He probably hasn't even touched yet. He's got a couple years before he even gets there. Does Julius Randle, A, fit this timeline, and B, truly work alongside Anthony Edwards? That's something that has to be addressed this year. Next up is the New Orleans Pelicans. They need a major reset. That's me hitting the reset button. Like, they need to fix everything. That starts off with trading Brandon Ingram in the next few weeks, or not the next few weeks, in the next, month and a few weeks before the trade deadline. That's really starts with trading CJ McCollum as well in the next month. Maybe DeJounte Murray and Zion Williamson in the offseason. They have to address something without a doubt. This has been a failed rebuild, and the Pelicans organization has to look themselves in the mirror and come to terms with that. And they have to act accordingly because this year they have to do something. They cannot just let it kind of be what it is. They have to make moves. And if they have to get rid of Zion, so be it. Make that be the Charlotte Hornets. Moving on to the New York Knicks. Adjust the bench as needed and stay healthy. There's really not much I have to say about the New York Knicks. They're one of the best teams in the league. They are currently just getting better and better. They're 23-10. They look awesome. They've won 8 in a row. They really just might need a little bit of just bench help because, Tom Thibodeau loves to run really short rotations. And after those guys, the bench is a little weak. So maybe they could just pick up some things there. And then on top of that, they need to stay healthy. But really, not too much to say on the New York Knicks side of things. And for the OKC Thunder, it's a similar premise. Stay healthy. Chet Holmgren, come back and stay healthy. But on top of that, I added one more thing. Prove the league they're the real deal. They got clowned last year for getting bounced out in the second round. This year, my wish for them, get to the Western Conference Finals. And not just get there, win it, and get to the finals. But I want the Celtics to win the finals. I'll always pick the Celtics over everyone else, but I've always loved the Thunder because of Russell Westbrook. I've always had a special place for them in my heart. But I want the Thunder to prove the league they're the real deal and get to the finals. And I think that's a pretty good possibility in the year 2025. And then for the Orlando Magic, just keep the high energy. They have looked awesome no matter who gets hurt. Paulo Banchero goes down. They still stay strong. Franz Wagner goes down. They're still staying strong. Keep the energy and keep it going. Jamal Mosley and his coaching staff is doing awesome. They're 20-14. They have a 3-game lead over the 5th-seeded Bucks. And the Magic have a pretty good position at that 4th seed right now. Keep it going, and whatever they're doing, don't change a thing because then Paulo will come back. Then Franz will come back, and they're going to be a scary team for a long time. Next up, the Philadelphia 76ers. It's just a massive look in the mirror this year. I know they're getting a little bit better. They've won 8 out of their last 10 games. They're 13-17. They'll claw their way into the play-in and maybe the playoffs, probably not, but at least the play-in. They're clawing their way up there. But I still don't believe they're a good team. And I still believe there's a lot of underlying issues there with Joel Embiid, Paul George, that it's just not realistic to really have high hopes for them. I want them to buy into Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey, but when it comes to Joel Embiid, how many years does he really realistically have left? And if he is here, he's going to be hurt a lot. Same thing for Paul George. And this year, that's something that they really have to think about, because you want to be good. And I don't know how good they're going to be if they're just going to continue to be like, oh, Joel's hurt. Oh, now Paul George is hurt. Oh, they're back. We're good for a few weeks. Oh, they're hurt again. That's not a very fun time if you're an organization. Moving on to the Phoenix Suns, it's actually the same exact thing as the 76ers. A really hard look in the mirror in 2025. You have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and supposedly a much better unit around them, and they're not good. They're 15-17, the 11th seed out west, and I know Booker and Durant have been hurt a good bit this year, but not to the same extent Joel Embiid has been hurt this year. Not to the same extent Paul George has missed this year. It's a little bit of a different situation. Again, I know they both have been hurt, but it's not as bad as the 76ers, and they're in a very similar boat, severely underperforming. That has to be looked at this year to really what is the root cause of this, because they should be a good team. They should be a top 6 seed without a doubt in the Western Conference. And they started the season that way, but right now they're not. And if that keeps going, this year something has to shake up. The Portland Trailblazers, who is here for the long term and who is movable? They have a lot of youth on this team, a lot of different players. Really a logjam at center, a little bit of a logjam at the shooting guard position, not as much as the center position, but who is here for the long term? Because something is going to have to shake up eventually. You can't just have Rob Will, DeAndre Ayton, and Klingon on the same team for years to come. That's not realistic. Which 2 out of those 3 are here to stay? Which one is getting moved? Same thing with Anthony Simons. He doesn't really fit this timeline anymore. He's getting a little bit older. Same thing with Jeremy Grant. Something needs to be moved. So this year in 2025, and I feel like I said the same thing last year, but I'm going to say it again. Who is here for the long term and who is going to be moved? That is their task in 2025, and that is my wish for them. The Sacramento Kings, my wish for them is to keep De'Aaron Fox happy. They just fired their head coach, Mike Brown. Why? I don't know, because none of this is his fault. The players are just not that good around De'Aaron Fox. Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan is really not shooting the ball well at all. No one is really playing great basketball, and I don't believe any of that, or a lot of it, is Mike Brown's fault. Of course, some of it is his fault and his coaching staff's fault, but at the end of the day, he's not on the court, and I really believe Mike Brown is a really, really good NBA basketball mind. I thought that was a huge mistake. But coming back to my wish for them, it's keep De'Aaron Fox happy. Because if you lose De'Aaron Fox, if he requests a trade, you thought your team was rough right now. You thought just making the playoff once and then missing it last year sucked. You are not going to make the playoffs for another 50 years if you lose De'Aaron Fox. You need to keep him happy because he is the best thing you got going right now, and he's the only shot you have to be relevant in any means of the word. Currently, they're 14-19, the 12th seed in the West. They're not playing good at all. They're 4-6 in their last 10. We know this. But you just got to do something to keep De'Aaron happy, because if he's gone, if he requests a trade, you are a capital S screwed. Moving on, we'll go on a little bit of a happier note. The San Antonio Spurs buy all into Wembanyama. I did not think the Spurs were going to be, a play-in team this year. I thought they'd just be right outside of it, around that 11th or 12th seed. They're playing really good basketball. They're 17-16 as of today. Buy into Wemby. There's no time to waste. Make a splash, make a trade. I'm not saying that's necessarily this season. I'm more talking about in the offseason. So, when the offseason comes this year, buy into Wemby and make a splash for a star if that's something that is, seemingly realistic at that time. But it's definitely worth it based off how this year is going so far. Moving on to the Toronto Raptors, figure out who you want to buy into. You have Grady Dick, you have Scotty Barnes, you have Emmanuel Quickley, you have RJ Barrett. That's kind of like your 4 core of young up-and-coming stars. I think Scotty Barnes is already a star, but he's still up-and-coming. That's your core 4. But the other guys around them, who do you want to buy into? Who do you want to trade? What do you want to go out and get? Or maybe you trade one of those 4 guys I already mentioned. This year in 2025, kind of like what I said for the Portland Trailblazers, figure out who is here to stay and who is someone you can move for other assets or whatever it may be. And the last team, the Washington Wizards, it's very simple. Continue the tankathon and capture the flag, or at least capture a top 3 draft pick, because they need something. I love Jordan Poole. I think he's continuing to get better. He's having a much better season than last year in Washington. They got to trade Kyle Kuzma. They got to trade Malcolm Brogdon. They got to trade Valanciunas. They have no business being in Washington, but I want them to continue to suck and capture the flag, or at least, someone good in that top 3, and get another young star alongside Jordan Poole, and continue that rebuild.
What's up, guys? I'm just editing the video, and I realized I forgot about the Utah Jazz. How could I? How could I? I'm sorry, Utah fans. My bad. But I basically would say the same thing as the Portland Trailblazers and the Washington Wizards. Just kind of continue to see what you got talent-wise, trade John Collins if you can, maybe look to move Lauri Markkanen in the offseason if that relationship seems to be wanting to go different directions. Same thing with Colin Sexton, and then kind of buy into, the young guys on this team and just really see who's here for the long haul and who can you move in the near future.
So with that said, that is all I have for you guys today, and that is one wish for every single NBA team in the year 2025. So hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video, and let me know down in the comments below what you thought about all of these wishes for all of these teams, and also what is your wish for your favorite team this year. I'll see you guys very soon, and like always, peace out.